another. Mainstream media. Government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Folks, it is Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for this worldwide transmission. It is the 4th day now, ladies and gentlemen, of November 2013, and we're going to be here, Lord willing, for the next 3 hours. And we are going to be joined in studio by the amazing artist and political mind, obviously expressed through his art, of Anthony Freda, who's down here visiting in Austin, Texas. He is scheduled to be joining us coming up for about 30, 45 minutes in the 3rd hour. And we'll also show TV viewers some of his art and post some of the art on Infowars.com. So radio listeners can go there and see a compilation of some of it and links to his site. But we'll talk about some of the big things that are developing worldwide with him when he joins us. There is a video from Fox News Sunday that we played quite a bit yesterday that's really getting a lot of attention today because Drudge has had it up since yesterday, where the architect of Obamacare, Ezekiel Emanuel, just comes right out and says, look, the plan, basically is to just get rid of you individually being able to get health care and to have it be state-run. But the profits will go to the insurance companies, and they will make you pay whatever they want. It's basically an unlimited corporate tax that is meant to shut down the economy. It's Cloward and Piven. And that's just one manifestation in sociology and economics from the 60s. But it's older than that to come in and wreck a society. One of the best examples is the communist Bolsheviks when they took over Poland, Ukraine, Romania, part of Czechoslovakia and other areas. They would turn the economy off on record and shut down the food, shut down the water to make everybody totally bankrupt, shut down, and then only allow their inside operatives and their party officials to run businesses, also becoming fabulously wealthy. And then, of course, all the communist officials had beautiful chateaus on the Black Sea, but also in places like Switzerland and other areas. And they would launder billions of stolen rubles into foreign accounts and would have hundreds of mistresses and horse racing and everything else while folks starved to death. And that's how it is with the French socialist. See, it all ties together. This year it came out, earlier this year, and then didn't get in trouble. That Swiss bureaucrats have billions apiece, even just mid-level, have hundreds of millions of euros in Swiss and Luxembourg and Monte Carlo and Bahamas banks, and they pay no taxes. But everyone else pays, on average, about 75% federal and overall over 90%. But now the middle class, to just get rid of them, actual middle class and nouveau riche, it's a 100%. Plus, actually, I keep saying 100%. I'm sorry. It's all the money you make and then more to destroy your savings. And then that money is, again, taken, and select corporations are exempt, and it transfers the economy and vertically integrates it. It is a total 100% mafia crime syndicate takeover. And that is the plan here publicly. So the public is still so incredibly trusting of the criminal mafias that have seized control that most people will be completely bankrupted before they wake up. And then the only job will be government or government affiliated or corporate connected to the government job. So a lot of them will just shut up and try to survive in that system. And then the long, dark night begins of total tyranny. And then the public will go along with the mass arrests and disappearances of people because, you can never say you were wrong. You can never stand up against the evil. You have to give it full reign to destroy everything, and then you are destroyed or humiliated and poor, and your family used for basically national compulsory service, the road to slavery. Well, my friends, we were reported on this last Friday, and now CBS News has picked it up. You can see the forbidden art at drudgereport.com and Infowars.com. The shirt that the NSA tried to ban, T-shirt artist strikes back. And the logo is a parody of the NSA, say, peeping while you're sleeping. The NSA, the only part of government that actually listens, they sent a cease and desist trying to have the T-shirt maker stop using it. They went after his shopping cart, a bunch of other things, but now he's fighting back against them, suing them. It's absolutely a parody. And by the way, everyone should do this. I think we're going to come out with a NSA/TSA shirt. NSA on one side, probably the back, saying, you know, watching you when you're not looking, or watching over your back. And on the front, the TSA. The TSA's also threatened people and threatened to sue people and tried to shut folks down over and over and over again. And we also have folks critical of Obamacare having their Facebook's accounts shut down and suspended. This is really the authoritarianism of these people. And we must all resist what they're doing. It's like the TSA coming out a month ago with announcements nationwide and saying that anyone who makes a joke in the airport about them, we're going to arrest you. Now, really, under statutory law, they can't do that. But there is the thuggish implied threat in all of that. So it is absolutely essential for all of us to engage in our First Amendment or lose it. And we'll be called names, we'll be demonized, but the power structure is running on empty. The power structure is shooting blanks here. Folks are aware that the system is illegitimate, that the social contract is not just broken, but is absolutely predatory, and that we're in deep trouble. Now, the general population has no idea just how deep the rabbit hole goes, just how serious this situation is. But at the same time, they're beginning to find out more and more, and then that learning curve is very, very accelerated. Takes off like a rocket. Once you get the rocket fueled, loaded, ready to launch, it's basically lifted off now. And that awakening is only going to accelerate as the projectile picks up speed here. And that's why we're entering that key window when the establishment is going to stage all sorts of stuff and is going to really try to throttle the general public back under their control. The power structure could have continued with their empire, continued with their takeover, their breakdown of the family, their breakdown of society. They could have continued with the shutdown of the economy, but they wanted it all right now. They wanted to fully break us and accelerate their program because they were getting behind schedule in their view. A lot of old globalists like David Rockefeller and Henry Kissinger and Zbigniew Brzezinski have written books saying they want to see their world government, their new world order established. And you know, they can't, like they did 10 years ago or even 15 years ago, say there's no world government, there's no corporate system being set up. Anyone that says there's a new world order is insane, it doesn't exist. They can't do that anymore. They can stage an event, blame it on folks that talk about the new world order, but people know that's real now. People know global governance is here. On CNBC, almost every time I tune in, they admit, we're run by foreign banks. You read Spanish papers, German papers, Swiss papers, Mexican newspapers. They admit, yeah, there's a giant global corporate cartel above the law, exempt, getting taxpayer money. People are getting it. And once you admit there's an elite who didn't get there by being the best writers or by being the best inventors or being, you know, the most honorable. No, that's the type of system you want to build, where the elite are virtuous people. That's when you build incredible civilizations and go to the stars. No, it's all about how big and manipulative and gangsterish your crew is. That's why there's a book coming out from White House aides quoting Obama would just walk around bragging, saying, I'm really good at killing people. You know how awesome I am. You know, I love going in and doing the morning briefing and ordering hits. And he goes in, it's one of his favorite parts of the day. He does it at least once a week, sometimes every day. and he goes in and looks at people and gives the death orders. He signs death orders. And even if he was doing that and it wasn't violating international law and they weren't really just trying to stir up Pakistan and other areas to get internal wars going between Shiite and Sunni and others, even if it was legitimate, you don't sit there and go, you know, I'm really good at killing people, close quotes. And see, I've talked about this a lot. We need to pull this up. There was a New York Times article. There's also one on Karl Rove saying, there's a New York Times, Washington Post, and I think it was New Yorker magazine. People were all together at a, and they were so afraid of him, they wouldn't even say that he was the one that said it until years later. They said a White House aide, a high-level aide said, we control reality, we can lie however we want, no one can stop us, and the media will do whatever we say, you're out of a job. I literally rule you, you're pathetic. And so even though they were egomaniac establishment journalists who thought they were part of the power structure, they still went out and attacked him because it made them feel bad to hear they were obsolete. But that's the end game of tyranny and the delusion of tyranny when you give into it. But it was Richard Pearl, known as the Angel of Death at the Pentagon, because he's just a fat, pasty, weird, demonic person who was always into killing people. And well, I mean, how do you get a nickname like the Angel of Death? Well, the Angel of Death, Richard Pearl, was at another one of these cocktail parties and walked up right after the 2003 Iraq invasion started. And he walked up to a group of good-looking female reporters. And that's how they were described. And said, you know, I'm powerful. I'm behind this war. I kill tens of thousands with a signature. And they were, and even though they were all evil and part of the empire and part of the lies, they were just like, ugh. It was, and they all walked away from him. Imagine a guy with all that power and been in Washington so long, he thinks the way you pick up women is walking up to them and saying, you know, I kill people every day by signing orders. I kill a lot of people. You can pull up the exact quote, but the point is, imagine, I mean, if you were the guy who was in special forces and had to run up to a base camp and slit guards' throats and stuff and then blew up a barracks or something, those are still human beings you killed. And unless you know, caught them torturing children or something, you want to kill them as quickly and painlessly as possible. And even if you caught them doing something horrible, they're more like a cockroach. You're not proud of having to step on it. It's just got to be done. And it's just the opposite of manliness, the opposite of honor. It is disgusting. And that's who they are. They're a bunch of guys. Obama writes in one excerpt of one of his books I read years ago about how, oh, I've never really been in fights, or I never, you know, I was a total peace growing up. Who knows if any of that's true, but most of these guys come from very wealthy, powerful families or establishment families, cloistered, and they're not around the real world. And it shows, like when George Bush Sr., a decade after grocery store scanners were in, I think it was in 1989, he comes into a Safeway and goes, what is that? What is that? Because he hadn't gone to get his own food or been to a grocery store in so long. So disconnected from reality. I mean, I've gone to the grocery store many times when I've been out in L.A. with pretty big Hollywood stars. Probably more than 15 or so. Because, I mean, they just put on a hat, let's go to the store. Let's go get some beer and some steaks and stuff. Let's cook them. Those are people worth, you know, in some cases, $50 million, $100 million. And they're cooking their own food because they enjoy it. They're going to the store themselves. Imagine George Herbert Walker Bush, at least a decade after scanners are ubiquitous, doesn't know what one was and was later questioned about it and said, no, I just learned about this. It's just like the head of Google gets told about big technological developments and things that are going on, like Bitcoin. I've known what Bitcoin is for 4 years. Doesn't know what Bitcoin is. And then was later asked, and I really don't know, but now I do. They got into power because they're part of the club, but they didn't get there because of their science, their beauty, their literature, their art. They weren't put there because we collectively want them there as an idol, basically. And I don't mean that in a blasphemy way, but you know, as a model of what we want to aspire to. Instead, these social engineers put out fake models in front of us, fake idols, so that we aspire to failure and they sabotage culture. And that's one of their greatest sins, is putting out destructive archetypes, destructive role models for people to sabotage the collective humanity so they can rule us. That is not a leadership. That is not an honorable group. That is an enemy fundamentally of humanity who hates themselves so much they believe they are obsolete and are going to merge with machines and kill the rest of us. No, you will not get away with it. Things are going to get really nasty in the process, and a lot of us aren't going to make it through this. But in the final equation, in my gut, in my spirit, at my bedrock, I know humanity is going to make it, and God has bigger plans for us, and he's not going to let these devils, and that's what they are, destroy incredible things that God has in store for humanity. We are made in the image of the Creator. We are creators. Look at how we create. The devil is never a maker. These Satanists can only destroy. It's all they know. They are the enemy. And those of us that love peace have to be prepared to defeat them. All right, I'm going to cover a bunch of news right now, and then I want to open the phones up for first-time callers yet again. First-time callers, your chance to be involved on the transmission. 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231, with the wild card of all the different issues that the callers bring up, the different angles and areas they take us into. I love the randomness of it, so that's why we introduce it here on the broadcast with the open phones on any topic. 800-259-9231. The reason we wrote about this last week, and I'm glad CBS News has picked it up, is that it's the power of the artist and the power of parody and the power of free speech against the system is what will bring it down. And that's why many a Roman Caesar was brought down by the political graffiti written on the walls. And it said that the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls. This is a right and a duty to engage in public speech, especially when there is tyranny. You've got to get out there and resist it. You've got to get out there and speak out against it. And when they try to shut down your free speech, you've got to redouble it. In fact, I think I'm going to come out with the next issue of the magazine with free bumper stickers in it again, criticizing the TSA and the NSA. And when the TSA said, if you laugh at us, we're going to arrest you, I had announced to the guys that I wanted to have another $10,000 film prize for making films, either comedy or serious, exposing the TSA. And I'm just scared of watching the hundreds of videos because, I mean, I love watching them. It just takes over our whole operation to have a contest. So I decided not to do it. But you know what? I'm on the razor's edge right now. I was going to have just Kit Daniels run the contest so we're not all doing it. And let him pick, I guess. Just randomly. Here, Kit, you're in charge. Let's see what you do. He's a smart guy. But I think it is just vital. In fact, I will. By sometime next week, we'll announce a month or two film contest. One prize, $10,000 for a parody or a news report. It can be anything. A free speech event covering the TSA and the NSA or either or. You can do one of them or you can do both of them in a piece, and we'll see how they like that. Because, oh, you're going to put me on a list. How about we're all on the list, and then we know who the enemies are, the people that aren't on the list. See how that works? You know, God's got a list, and you devils that violate our rights and violate our liberties, wonder whose list you're on. You think you're omnipresent? You think you're playing the part of God? You've tried to say Snowden's a demon, Snowden's horrible. Now the whole NSA grid is in trouble. And the Europeans tried to blame America like they weren't doing it. Now it comes out they had agreements, just like all our NSA whistleblowers told us. They're all doing it because the only scapegoat here is to say it's the U.S. government is the only one or the head of this. The U.S. government is run by a national security group of corporate interests that have hijacked us via the National Security Council on record. People like George Shultz and others. And they are running the show here, and they are running the economy down the drain on purpose to consolidate it. And then saying we're criminals if we speak out against them. I mean, imagine telling a graphic artist, we're going to sue you, we're going to arrest you for copyright infringement, when the NSA knows putting out T-shirts that are parodies of the NSA is the most protected speech. It is political. Parody is the highest level. Did you know the FCC loses fines if the profanity is aired in a documentary? You ever heard NPR and wonder why you hear cuss words sometimes on NPR? Because they can say, oh, it's part of a documentary. This was really said. You see, I could get up here if I was reading a court transcript and say cuss words. I just choose not to do it because it is political analysis and a news report. It can be judged profane if you're targeting children with something. And then they take that and misappropriate it to all free speech. So the point is, this is absolute total fraud. There's Steve Watson's article from October 30th last week at Infowars.com. Free speech T-shirt maker threatened by NSA. DHS fights back with lawsuit suing agencies for violation of the First Amendment. And you scroll down, you can see his thought crime that he's committed. Looks nothing like the Department of Homeland Security logo. But it's clear that it's a parody of the NSA. It's not that he was masquerading as the NSA. It's that he was criticizing them, raping our rights, abusing us. And so we're going to launch a contest on the NSA and the TSA for 10 grand. And I'm going to come out with a T-shirt with the NSA on the front or the back and the TSA on the other side, criticizing both groups. We've done it before.
We're on the march. The empire's
You've
on
all
the
got to
run.
stand together.
Alex Jones
You've all
and
got
the
to fight back.
GCN Radio Network.
News coming up.
Let me switch.
So there is the architect of it, and we told you, and we had medical doctors on and others who'd read the legislation to tell you it was designed to destroy individual healthcare systems, kick you off of it, increase the price, give trillions of dollars over the next decade to offshore insurance companies owned by globalist banks, lower the standard of care, and set the precedent for a global tax to the banks. That's who owns the big insurance companies on average, the big mega banks, and allow those big mega banks to shut down small insurance companies and banks. That's what all the banking reform bills have been. That's what all the stimulus acts and all the banker bailout plans and all the stress test garbage. The head of the Texas Banking Association 2 years ago, and I read his letter that I saw in the Austin Business Journal. It was in newspapers all over the state. I read his letter on air where he said this is a monopoly, a takeover to shut down competition, dealing with these new banking regulations and stress tests because the big banks basically wrote the regulations and are exempt. And it's the same thing with Obamacare. We are watching a mafia takeover. And we've always had corrupt elites. I mean, the world's never a perfect place. But, I mean, these people have an instinct to want to hurt all of us. They don't want to just skim off the top and have a big fat economy. No, they want to be the only ones that got the fat. All you get is living in a ditch when they're done. And these people are so sick, and all their camp followers and all their minions and all their supporters are incalculably wicked. And it is so disgusting to see this. And speaking of attacks on free speech, you don't just have the NSA and Homeland Security threatening to fine or arrest someone who does a parody saying the NSA is the only part of government that actually listens. A T-shirt that says that and then has an American Eagle logo on it. And it says peeping while you're sleeping. Clearly, like shirts I've seen that say CIA, Cocaine Importation Agency under them. Because that's what it is. It is the Cocaine Importation Agency. It imports cocaine and exports small children to hostile torture chambers, on record. I've got news on that today. CPS kids in England being taken and raped and tortured. That's mainstream news. Cover up of VIPs who abuse children in care. Well, yeah, they don't just abuse them. It's come out. They kill them. When they dig up the little skeletons, everything's shut up about it. Because after all, people are like, oh my gosh, don't talk about this. Oh yeah, so they can just keep doing it, right? Because, you know, they are so evil, they see a child and don't want to protect them, don't want to be sweet to them, don't want to empower them and nurture them. No, they want to rape them and ttorture them to death and scare the hell out of them and suck their soul out. And vampirically feed on the terror and the suffering of children. Just like the public school system since 1990 has taught nationwide how to get in coffins, how to be rolled up in blankets, to learn how to die. And they play spaceship and lifeboat where only 7 kids can live in the group, but there's 10 on the boat. So if and the social engineer pamphlet tells them if they're a bureaucrat, they survive. But if they're a homophobe, they're thrown off the boat to be killed. This is hardcore re-education camp brainwashing. And then you wonder why, within a year of that program being put in 1990, tripling in the suicides, 2020 ABC News. 2020. And now they've tripled or quadrupled it again on top of that. To where suicide is just epidemic in the schools, and the answer is constant brainwashing on how to do it. And the teachers and principals now even really know this, but it's like so much fun to have people killing themselves, and it's such a pity party, and it's so fun that it's, oh, and they're in there drugging the kids, and well, we got to have psychological evaluation now. Oh my gosh, more suicides, more kids killing themselves, more little kids. Oh, well, we'll drug them all, then the suicides increase. More drugging, suicides increase, more drugging. And they're right there in front of you, murdering your children with psych warfare, the most savage mind control operating right out in front of everyone with savage programming and savage victory over us. Just like I went to that, just to give you an example of social conditioning, and I'm not saying Russell Brand is doing this, but it's an example of why I should follow popular culture more. It just makes me so sick, most of it, unless someone's using it to wake folks up like Russell Brand is doing, at least at some levels. And he's a listener and follows us on Twitter, so that's how I found out he was a listener from David Icke, and then contacted him, and sure enough, helped wake him up to a certain degree, said on air and also as much off air. And I get to the event, and I get in at the end of it. That was a whole other story I've told on air. But the point is, I get in there, and he's doing the, signing of stuff. And there's hundreds of women down there, and about half of them are Katy Perry lookalikes. And then as he signed their thing, turned them down for a date, and said, sorry, love, I've got a girlfriend. And as they walked away, they looked distraught and like freaked out. They actually thought they were going to dress up like Katy Perry, and that they were going to become Katy Perry if they got the man who was married to Katy Perry. That's just like if Kim Kardashian's dating one type of guy, all the women in the trendy areas of New York and LA go out and get that guy. And then when she goes out with another type of guy, then they all go out and dress the same, put the same glasses on and do that, and then imagine that they are Kim Kardashian. See, that's mind control. And you know what? If it sells records and sells products, that's one thing, but it's the messages they tag onto that. Most women aren't going to make millions of dollars doing a sex tape. You're going to end up ruining your career. Most women going out and finding some thug that knows how to dress like someone that's famous knows that they're manipulating airhead women that believe they're signing on to some fantasy. So you're being conned. You're being given false dreams that don't lead to anything. Liberty and family and being honorable and being strong and being successful and being vicious when people try to enslave you. That leads to success. That leads to civilization. Not buying into all this. So there's a few examples right there. I went out, interviewed him behind stage, went out the back with him to say bye, and there were women that had gone around the back of the building to see him and his security leave. And he drove off, and a lot of the people that were there, turned out were listeners of mine. Hi, Alex, how you doing? But suddenly these women, and Anthony Gucciardi was with me, so was it Jacobson and Rob Dew, these women all turned to me, follow us, and they go, you know him? And just because I knew him, they wanted to go home with me. And I said, hey, I'm married, honey. Have a good night. And we had to literally push these women off of us. And, folks, that's because they believe that Russell Brand is like Prince Charming and is going to kiss them and awaken them out of their sleep of death. like Sleeping Beauty or like Snow White, when the world is all around them. Success and beauty and good things and friendship is all around them, but they're chasing that illusory idea. And while they're chasing that, all the real freedom's being stolen from them right in front of their eyes, and they don't even take it personally. And the reason I tell this whole story is just to understand human psychology. Imagine now 10 and 11-year-old girls, that's the main group committing suicide, who never committed suicide in history. The system knew from young unmarried women watching Shakespearean plays about suicide, like Romeo and Juliet, they knew. Now, I know from the psych warfare they're doing it on purpose to make people kill themselves, to create a culture of death. That's on record. But I just have read the historical examples of the Romeo and Juliet, women after seeing the play going and killing themselves because it touched them so much to like feel like they were part of that, and that love hit them at such a point that they were so impressionable and so suggestible, basically hypnotized by the play, that they would kill themselves. But Shakespeare, I will guarantee you, the group of writers that wrote under the nom de plume Shakespeare had no idea that was happening, probably didn't know that was going to happen. Today, the psych warfare chiefs know, and they've been doing this now for 22 years, 23 years. They have been killing little girls in schools, in every school district, murdering them. And it's like a domino effect. If they can get one to kill themselves, then more and more will kill themselves. And I know I talked about this last Friday, and the reason I'm back on it is I'd forgotten about that. Because, I mean, there's so much evil, so many programs of mind control, so many programs of manipulation. Through the fad-driven economy, through this programming system. You know, cigarette makers came to Edward Bernays, the grandson of Sigmund Freud, in the 20s, and they said, we can't get women to smoke. It's not seen as ladylike. Women smoke cigars in private. That's why they have the piece of paper around them that's pretty. Cigars used to be for women. And you've helped us sell cigars to men as cool. How do we get women to smoke cigarettes? And he goes, fund the suffrage movement and tell them it's radical and cool if they smoke cigarettes, and you'll get them. And within a decade, more women smoked than men. And they funded Hollywood and others. This is all psych warfare. And they tell you, you go to CVS, you go to Walgreens, get your flu shot, 20% off. Get 20% off everything in the store because they love you, folks. That's why they want to do that. And then later in the 60s, you've come a long way, baby. Virginia Slims. And then all the proud feminists smoke Virginia Slims to this day, going on their respirators, because they showed the men, you've come a long way, baby. That's right. Now you get to work 2-3 jobs. The men aren't men anymore. Society's collapsing. Your children are on drugs. The society's imploding. There were always strong women that worked in business and did things if they wanted to. But see, now the state is over the children. Now women don't want to have children because they got to make it. They got to become successful. And all they see is then the poor, downtrodden, dumbed down folks having a dozen kids. It is like reverse eugenics or something. Now, getting back to the Affordable Care Act, and then I'm going to go to your phone calls and cover more of the news in the next hour, and there's a lot of it. They knew what they were doing. It's all on record. And am I getting an apology from all the folks that said I was a conspiracy theorist and a racist on MSNBC? Because it was racist to not support Obamacare. See, it's not that I didn't want Obamacare because I knew it was a screw job. It was because Obama is black, see. And I'm going to be honest, I picked up some breakfast tacos this morning that were in a brown bag. So in Seattle, I'm a racist as well. Again, it's all about putting the guilt off onto me, like I've done something, putting the guilt off onto you. But then meanwhile, it's not just that you can't have a T-shirt making fun of the NSA, according to them. Of course, they're going to get sued now and defeated. They're being sued. You fight back, folks, where they set the precedent. No, Twitter keeps suspending account critical of Obamacare. Yeah, I mean, if you put accounts out for the Second Amendment, they shut them down. Twitter, Facebook, you name it. And it's just gotten to where it's no big deal. Oh, yeah, you criticize the system. The account, my consultation was just getting started when Twitter suspended it twice before reinstating the account late Saturday afternoon because she spoke out. The purpose of mycancellation.com was to allow some of the millions of Americans who were losing their health insurance to post pictures of themselves with their cancellation letters. Yeah, and I'll guarantee you, folks, the White House watches this, runs Twitter, runs Facebook. They brag on record they do. Just like Hayden, 10 minutes into a rant, was on a train going, yeah, I order torture, I order killing. And the guy's tweeting everything he's saying. He's bragging how he runs rendition and torture operations in black sites. And within 10 minutes, they call him and go, sir, there's a man listening to you, a reporter. And they turn, and there's the reporter, and Hayden comes over and tries. And it's the same thing. Clinton bragged about killing people. The angel of death, Richard Pearl, bragged about killing people at dinner parties, martini parties, cocktail parties. Looking for the right word. Obama brags around the White House. Yeah, I'm good at killing people. Yeah, it's real manly to walk into your Oval Office and sit back with your feet up on the desk and they, sir, do you want to kill this person? Sir, do you want to kill that person? We're going to blow up a whole wedding party to get this one guy that isn't really Al-Qaeda. He's actually fighting Al-Qaeda, so we're going to kill him. That's really who they kill. And imagine just, I'm pretty manly. I mean, can you imagine, folks? I mean, if I'd been in the military and killed a bunch of people, I know a lot of folks that have, they never talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. They get really irritated if you want to make them talk about it. Because it's just there's a lot of reasons, and obviously anybody that's been around that knows why or done it. It's the opposite. It's like so cowardly to sit there giving the orders to kill people and then to get off on it. And again, it is the essence of who these scumbags are. We're going to go to break and come back, but Obamacare site goes offline for extended maintenance, and Obama comes out with a speech saying, well, just go there and sign up. Just like he said, hey, don't worry, you don't like being groped by the TSA and don't like the body scanners? Remember in that State of the Union? He goes, you can ride a train. And him and Biden laughed because they just given the order a month before. It was a presidential directive to roll the TSA out on the streets. And that's why Biden was like, it's all a big joke. We're going to give these schmucks free health care. Tell them another one, these idiots. These are eugenicists putting cancer viruses in all the vaccines on record, all the major vaccine types, putting sterilants in them, all on record, killing us. It's a big, folks, they sit in there talking about how they go out in public and look at how sick you are. They brag in their own publications about how they're teaching kids to kill themselves. In Europe now, they go, oh, we took parental rights away. Kids can divorce their parents at age 5. Now we can, do you want to kill yourself for the earth? Remember in Australia about a decade ago, they said, or it was 8 years ago, they had video games teaching the kids that animals die unless they commit suicide. ABC News of Australia covered it. Not affiliated with our ABC News, but the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. And the news was like, does it go too far that it shows baby animals having their heads chopped off? In fact, people won't believe this. Search engine video game teaches kids when to die. Carbon credit. Infowars.com. And it shows little animals having their heads chopped off and blood spurting. And they show these to 7-year-olds. And they teach them, do you want to kill yourself? And now it comes and they go, your daughter decided to kill herself today. Well, we have the parental control now. And little Jenny's gone. And by the way, you can't bury her now or cremate her. That's bad for the earth. We put her in an acid bath, and then it's recycled for fertilizer. It's for the earth. We're going to teach your kids how to kill themselves because we're trendy and liberal. I was able to find the article from Infowars.com during the break, and we'll put that up on screen, the Infowars.com article. ABC website tells kids when they should die. For some reason, the screenshots of the video game are dead of the animals being killed if you don't kill yourself. But we were able to search the greenhouse calculator game, and we're able to find the images online. They pulled it down, and it shows pigs in pools of blood and other animals, bunny rabbits having their heads chopped off, you name it. Find out when you should die. I'm reading a quote. This was given to 4th grade, 3rd and 4th grade students, and they did have an increase in suicide in Australia. You can look up that number as well. I'm not kidding. So teaching children, and I've talked to parents They say after going to public schools and private schools where they teach them that humans are bad for the earth, when they see a construction site, the little girls start crying. I was talking to one mother and saying, oh my gosh, they're killing the bunnies. I need to die. And this is teaching you, instead of having a life force and a will to survive and a value of life, you're being taught you're total crud, so you'll roll over so the globalists can run everything. They don't even want to help the earth on top of it. This is the pure flip-out level evil we're under. I'm going to start the next hours. We have plenty of time, and I'm going to take Pat, Mark, Greg, Dennis, Derek, all of your calls and more. When we come back, I'm going to try to race through calls again. We haven't gotten into the food stamp cut rate, create high demand for food bank supplies. That's now being reported by USA Today, 4 days after DrudgeReport.com carried our Infowars.com story. I'm just pointing out that we're actually making mainstream media report real news. Just like on the NSA story. Food banks panicking over demand following welfare cut. That's from November 1st, and now it's in USA Today. Today, we're going to be getting into that, how serious the situation that is, while they get the riot police ready at all the DHS facilities and by rubber bullet machine guns and tear gas machine guns. So we're going to be getting into all of those reports. Big issues at the Federal Reserve. Some of the Federal Reserve folks criticizing Obama, saying it's very reckless what they're doing. So that's rats leaving the sinking ship. We're going to get into the latest on more top generals being purged, not just the 2 nuke commanders and others, and not just Major General Patrick Brady coming out and saying there's a purge of folks that won't go along with his takeover agenda. Now the head of all the major forces in Japan has been relieved, saying Obama had no confidence in him. So the Fuhrer is culling the herd politically right now. This is a big, big, big deal, and we will break that down as well in the second hour. Before I go to break, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to InfoWarsLife.com, you can find out how amazing this particularly patented system of nascent atomic iodine is and what it does with the radiation levels increasing in North America. The bare minimum to protect the thyroid is to get good iodine in there, and this is what I've chosen for my family. And it was so amazing, and nobody seemed to know about this, that I went out and had them up the size of their laboratory. It's been around for 40 years. It's patented with Russian scientists to produce this with Dr. Group. And it's twice the strength at half the price at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com, or by calling toll-free. And, folks, I take the recommended amount. A lot of folks I know take more, but you should talk to your doctor. It is making me lose weight, more energy. Everyone is marveling at it. That's what it's doing for me, exactly what Dr. Group said. The man is a genius. It is so incredible that this is in the halogen area, that the only healthy one in the halogens. And according to Dr. Group and other doctors, and the system keeps this away from you and puts all the bad halogens in the food and water to literally, in the medical literature, quote, zombify the public. That's why it's Survival Shield from InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. And we just got more back in, but it will sell out quick, and your purchase supports the broadcast. Stay with us. Well, folks, the architect of Obamacare has told us what we already knew, and it shows their hubris, their arrogance. They're having Twitter accounts suspended that criticize Obamacare, where people post photos of their cancellation letters, or getting letters that their fees have gone up 539%. And that's because we do have power to organize and expose this criminal fraud. But it doesn't matter. Ezekiel Emanuel, who is the main architect of all the people involved, he's one of the main architects. Tom Daschle was an architect. He wrote a book saying, have death panels, kill old people. I read the quotes on air. These are eugenicists. These are pigs that actually want a safety net over you so they can get rid of you. That's what Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood and all this is about. And the sooner you realize that you've been gullible morons, the sooner you can start figuring this out before they shut everything off and we don't have any hope. Because we're getting right down to that area. Okay, and I care about everybody, but I'm sick of not being a racist and not being a tribalist and being for a fair shake and then watching all the politically correct people who are really anti-liberty, in many cases anti-white, you name it, sit there and attack me all day because of what color I am and what I stand for and say I'm a racist or I'm a terrorist. The globalists really want to get us fighting with each other, and I want folks to grow up and realize what's really happening. I'm sick of it, and I'm sick of political correctness. It's a bunch of tyranny. Let's go to Pat in Florida. You're on the air. Go ahead.
How you doing, Alex?
I'm doing all right, brother.
This weekend I was at an event up in Lakeland, and there was a lot of members of both Keepers as well as CCOM and a lot of military and ex-military. And I started talking to a group of them, and one of the guys, I said to him, I said, are you aware of the 45 generals that have been purged as well as the 197 officers? And he said, yes, we're well aware of it. And there's a lot of rumors in the military that a general had ordered those nukes that were taken, and they were dumped off the coast of South Carolina and disposed of. And I went on the USGS.gov website, and on the 8th of last month, there was a major event that went on, and they don't show a lot of information about this.
And I saw another cover story. It was in mainstream news, like AP, a month ago, right? It was like, oh, expect nukes that aren't refurbished or dismantled to detonate. And that's basically impossible from the nuclear engineers and folks I've talked to, the way those work. And so doesn't even have the priming or the activator in it. It like basically once it's primed and prepared with keys and other things, it then slides in to be able to detonate the TNT or the plastic explosive that then blast in, depending on the type of weapon. But tell me more about what the military folks were telling you.
Well, then we went on to some more stuff, and one of the guys said that he works in construction, has been going in a lot of homes throughout Florida, and that when he goes in, he sees a lot of food and stuff and says, oh, are you preparing, and thinking they're a patriot. And he's saying that he's running into a lot of people that are preparing to fight patriots. And I was shocked because I haven't heard that one.
No, it's true. Listen, they're making their move because the communists, and that's what they are, it's foreign banks that are above the law and exempt, just like with 1917, they use commies to take over. And they use communist strategy because that was created by the very same banks we're fighting today over 100 years ago. This is all on historical record, by the way, and congressional testimony. People can look it up. Cleon Skousen's book, The Naked Communist, quotes the congressional sources. But the point is that they use communists. It isn't communism. They use communists to take over. And yes, they had petitions on the White House site that had like 50,000 signatures to form communist militias to take out the Tea Party. I mean, they intend to shut stuff off, use the half the public on welfare they believe is going to basically hold everyone hostage for the takeover. What else did they say about that?
Well, I mean, a lot of people in the military get very concerned, and I actually know one of the guys that...
Hold on, I want to hear more about this. We're going to come back to you to finish up what your military source was saying, whether it was rumor or whether he had real intel on those nukes being dumped in the ocean. Activism is very, very simple. That's why Rome became corrupt and finally collapsed, went from a republic to an empire, and then degenerated, broke in two, and then finally completely collapsed. Is because politicians quickly learned they could get rid of the truly noble class, the middle class and upper class, who had to be virtuous and in trade and business and operate above board, or you would be executed. They had laws. The religion was basically the law of being honorable. And because they were honorable in the Republic days, they ended up taking over the known world. Then they slowly degenerated until emperors were marrying their horses and doing other things I won't mention on air, dressing up like werewolves at parties and ripping children's throats out. I think that was Nero. It was Caligula, married his horse. The point is, it's always the same story. And they learned that they could take tax money from the middle class and they could then give it to the poor and then create a constituency in voting, because they had voting in many city and town governments, but also in gangs that they could call out to beat and attack folks if they didn't go along with it. Because up until the time of Caesar, when they officially became an empire, or not an empire, a dictatorship, it was already an empire, that if you didn't have a gang, you didn't have any power because you weren't allowed to bring military force south of the Rubicon River in northern Italy or up close to where northern Italy and Switzerland meet. So the issue here is this is an old program. And let's cue up Ezekiel one more time. The main architect, Ezekiel Emanuel, the brother of the Chicago boss, Don Corleone Emanuel there, goes on Fox and says, listen, get with the program. The insurance companies know the individual insurance is going away. Get used to it. But you're going to have the worst plan. You're not just going to have socialist health care where you pay 80% taxes and the government can restrict your care because of life decisions or whatever, and now you're tied collectively to everyone else, and you got compulsory euthanasia even of children and all the rest of it, like Northern Europe, that's the best of the socialist systems. And I say that very lightly. It's the best of a long chain of horrible options. We're going to have the worst, the eugenics, the no choice, all written by a few insurance companies, less than... There's really, I say the Big 10. They call it the Big 10. There's like 7 or 8 of them. And then they're owned by Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Berkshire Hathaway, Wells Fargo Group, the usual suspects, Bundesbank, Bank of England, and all these private shareholders. Like the Federal Reserve is a private share group in the actual control. And then you've got some of the banks that actually have shares for the general public, common shares. But the issue is, without getting into the whole economics of it, this is a total vertical integration, financial takeover backed up by military takeover. And I'm going to go back to Pat here, who we're going to finish up with this call and then go to others. The issue here is this is not a game. This is not a joke. And the plan, according to all the medical doctors that I know who have been in medical management, people that really care about their patients, really care about quality. You can't do serious medical work and not really care, folks. Unless you've got a mental problem or something, or just completely greedy. It's a dedication. And they're all leaving and getting out of it because it's restricting the care they can give. It's a government-run computer system telling them what they can do. And it's designed where anytime they want, the doctors can be arrested if they take Medicare or Medicaid. And now they're talking about making you take it, which will kill the system. And they think so little of you that even though they've been caught doing this and doubling the premiums and screwing everybody, they think they're going to get away with fully gutting the system because the Republican leadership helped write the bill because they're bought and paid for by the same banks. And that's why the Republican and Democratic leadership, from Karl Rove to Barack Obama, have circled the wagons against the real Tea Party. Because let me tell you, they're pro-gun, they're pro-family, they're anti-abortion, they're anti-socialism, they're anti-communism, and they're waking up and being radicalized, in the words of Time magazine writers and others, by you're looking at him right here. They would love to kill me right now, but they know it will turn me into a giant martyr. And they dig through and follow me around and do audits and harassments, trying to find something I'm doing. Let me tell you. Trying to mess with me. But they've learned when they threaten me in a parking lot or have special forces people follow me around or even attack me, I just suddenly get 10 times the energy. So, I'm sitting here, though, on the edge of the cliff. I live on the edge of a cliff. And I tell you, I wouldn't live anywhere else. This is great. Being real, being honorable, affecting history, trusting in God as the North Star. I'm fixed on Christ. Wicked devil that I am, my heart loves God. I'm standing up for the innocents. I'm committed. I can't do it all. In fact, I can't do any of it without Jesus Christ, and I put it all right there at the cross, right there at Christ's sacrifice, and say, lead, guide, and direct me right now. Please help me not to be wicked and evil. Please help me not to be a coward. Please help me to be committed. Please give me discernment, and God has given it to me. And every day I become more informed and more enlightened. And that's what it is to be a free man, and that's what I want everybody else to experience. Not being a horrible, dumbed-down minion, a slave of the New World Order. It's a horrible thing to live as a slave and live in fear. And you stop being a slave, even if you're in physical shackles, the moment you're not afraid of your captors, the moment you decide you're a free being with a connection to the Creator, that's the moment you're free. It happens in your heart. That's why they want to drug you. That's why they want to dumb you down. Now, sir, you got interrupted by the break. Pat, recap your story of hanging out with some military folks and what they were saying on multiple issues about the missing nukes and things like that, because here is WorldNet Daily last week. Top General Obama is purging the military if they won't go along with his communist agenda. Major General Patrick Brady, Major General, Congressional Medal of Honor winner, highly respected. Here's another one. U.S. commander in Japan relieved of duty due to alleged misconduct. Folks, they are purging top generals every couple days now. I mean, this is unprecedented. It started with the 2 nuke commanders. And they're asking them if they'll go along with some really bad stuff, the intel we've got. And I don't get why they can't go public about it, because it's national security, they claim. No, they're using national security to hide all this criminality. Let's go back to Pat, and then Mark, Greg, Dennis, and Derek. We're going to get to everybody. Pat, finish your point.
What I was going to say, Alex, is one of the military officers there said there's a mass awakening because of the purge of generals and officers. And if you even go on military.com, one of the generals that's actually coming out is on one of the smaller pages in the back of military.com. So it's starting to come out. The military's starting to wake up to everything that's going on, which is huge. And you wouldn't believe how many people around the state, just where I'm at, where people are forming groups and working together to help each other and going into their churches and getting people to be a part of everything that's going on and wake up other people. There's a lot of things going on, and people just need to get involved and pay attention to what's going on.
You're right. God bless you. And you said separately, one of your friends that was at this meeting with the military folks was saying that he goes in to do construction in Florida and that the commies are basically hoarding food. He says, oh, you're a patriot. Repeat that for folks.
Well, what he had said, because I'd never heard this, and he said he would see a lot of food and stuff stocked up in their houses and say, well, you know, are you a patriot or what? And they're like, no, we're getting ready to fight against the patriots, one person told him. And I was shocked because I have not heard that. No, that's true. Globalist minions, bureaucrats, they all have security plans with the local police. They have government districts. They don't tell people that, but they have them. Austin, it's Terrytown. They have deals to not turn the power off when they turn the rest of our power off. That's actually public. Because, again, this stuff can't be classified under federal law, but it basically is classified. And that's why they're having martial law drills everywhere, because they're going to turn the food off. It's not the food's going to get turned off in the welfare checks because the system went bankrupt. They're maneuvering us on purpose into that, as they've done all these other countries. Look at Greece, look at Brazil, look at Argentina, look at Nigeria. This is a plan. And then the mass and the middle class will go, we got burning cities. We've got to do whatever they say and have a national sales tax on top of income tax. We've got to do whatever they say. We got to have a carbon tax to get the food back to the poor people. And so, of course, all the commies and bureaucrats know about this. These are enemy soldiers. I don't just say that. They know. This is a foreign takeover. We've been infiltrated, folks. I'm not kidding around. Dennis in Colorado, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, brother.
Well, praise Jesus. I'm saved. I hope you are, too.
Oh, I am, brother.
Anyway, I'm with you. But anyway, the reason I called is you are not a conspiracy theorist. I knew an old commander in the military, and we'll just leave it at that, and he started telling me this stuff back like when the Iraq went in, you know, with the Iraq war, and they were showing the airplanes out in the desert that these are weapons of mass destruction. He's got these pictures of Mother, because he was pretty high up. He goes, these things won't even fly, you know, and they're junk. And, you know, ever since then, we've been talking. Everything he was telling me is what you're saying now. They're going to shut down the roads. They're going to shut down the economy. That, you know, they're going to go after everybody with this. The health care is going to be the same thing they're doing in the military.
It is a communist takeover.
Communist takeover. You're exactly right. And they're going to do everything they can to divide, conquer the family, you, yourself, everything. Character assassination. And they're doing it. I mean, you can look at it in the news. Somebody's died. Benghazi people covered up. It's everything. If people
that's right, sir. They are criminally committed, and that's the issue. They're going all the way. And what's their secret? False flags. They're going to blow stuff up and blame it on the patriots. They're going to commit mass shootings and blame it on us, and they're doing it. Again, folks, Alex Jones here, back live. I want to be clear for everybody out there. This is not a communist conspiracy that we're facing. If you look at who put Mao into power, who put Lenin into power, who helped Stalin, it was a collection of international banks, just like there were groups that helped put Al-Qaeda in power in the Middle East, very same criminals. They want scum in power who will carry out operations telling the people, we're going to give you the middle class and rich people's money, when it's the ultra-rich, like Warren Buffett, lobbying for tax money on middle class to give it to himself in banker bailouts. He's the biggest recipient, and he promotes communism. For you, not for him. He is a degenerate piece of filth offshore with diplomatic immunity on record. This is how they do it. This is how they operate. And they want control. They want to make you dependent, period. And if they don't succeed this time, they'll try and try again. That's the thing. It's a war, folks. We have to keep fighting for liberty. You can't just, oh, we're free. We won World War II. We're going to be fine. That's why we've been totally taken over. Oh, I trust the government. That's the new American way. I want big government. That's the new American way. Well, that creates a nightmare, and now it has, and it doesn't work except for the tiny elite. But they've convinced a new generation that socialism and communism is the way to go. But they're technocrats, even mid-level ones, know they're bankrupting things. I can tell you how many Obamacare supporters call and go, Obama's a good guy. You've heard him. This is his plan to wreck the healthcare system. Then I'll get my free healthcare. They actually say that in the Democratic Party. When it's not even socialist. It's never socialist. It's big banks that want to make everybody buy their stuff and then control the care through government to steal the money and to control your health. Don't you understand that? And now you're seeing it. And America could only be overtaken from within. It's the only way. Let's go to Greg in California. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Janet Napolitano. Are you feeling trendy today?
Hi, Janet. How are you doing? This is you're an imposter. I'm Janet Napolitano.
Well,
did you hear? Did you hear? The shooter didn't like her. So if you make fun of her, you're contributing to people being shot. How dare you make fun of me?
Indeed, indeed. Okay.
Actually, she talks like this. Hi.
Yeah,
she talks more like, hi. Hi. We're going to have to search for children. Teach them to be taken away from mommy and daddy. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm calling from basically, just typical Middletown, America, generic area, and I just wanted to give you kind of a profile on what's going on. Just a couple of stories for you. I'll make it quick. I was basically just after, a long day, I hopped on my mountain bike. I was riding into town to make a bank deposit and just kind of, grab a coffee or whatever. And this cop chased me down. I was just kind of riding my bike, and he pulled out his taser, and he was like ready to shoot me right there on the street. He's just like, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" "Well, why are you riding so fast?" I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about?" I'm just riding my bicycle to the bank here. And I was like standing in front of the ATM, and I immediately froze because I could see the bug-eyed look in his face.
Oh, yeah, no. That's what tyranny is. It's where they all run around acting like we've done something to make us feel guilty. That's the essence of living in a Soviet country. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, and I've been to a country like that. When the Berlin Wall was in full swing, my father took me through Checkpoint Charlie there in East Berlin to witness East Germany firsthand because he had a cousin back there. And it blew my mind. And I'm like, this sort of smacks of some kind of control-freak communist state when the cop in your neighborhood wants to, tase you, because you're riding your bicycle. It just gave me the creeps. And just quickly moving on to another story, I work in the trades, and I had a friend who was coming down from the north to kind of give me a hand on the job because I was shorthanded one day. And I have a little camper van in front of my house, and I said, "Listen, Adam, just go ahead and crash out of my van. I know you're running in late, and we'll head off to work in the morning." He said, "Cool, I'll do that. Sounds good." So he does that, and he gets rousted by the police at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if they have heat-seeking equipment, but they certainly do, absolutely, or they can see the windows fogged. How dare someone sleep in your car? Oh my gosh! In a free country, you don't do that. I'll tell you what they did, Alex. Basically, they rousted him like Nazis, and they basically gave him a ticket for $150 for laying down with intent to camp. And they made him walk the streets until sunrise, and then he met me all bleary-eyed in the morning and said, "Greg, all right, I'm ready to go to work." It was just totally messed up.
I know it's incredible how they operate. Man, I tell you, we're in a lot of trouble. That's all I can say. And again, it's all the progressive areas that the cops act like this. If you notice, they're 10 times worse because they're not progressives in progression the way we think. They're progression like cancer, terminal cancer, and they know it. They know it. They are the legions of scum. We'll be right back. All right, folks, we are back live, and we're going to go back to your calls here in about 10, 15 minutes or so and cover a whole bunch of news that's developing, including a CCSU lockdown. Central Connecticut State University on high alert after reports of a gunman with a knife. Somebody thinks they saw a gun or saw a knife. Just a country just frothing in fear, even though people being shot is down by 49%, Justice Department's own numbers. But his name is Chris, and he's the Director of Communications. We're just going to give you his first name so that Homeland Security, I guess, doesn't come after him or something. With MyPatriotSupply.com, one of our sponsors. But the reason I've got him on is, and I wanted to get him on months ago, but we finally have gotten him to agree to come on. This is an exclusive. Talk about this. They were the only food company that wasn't scared to not talk about it. I tried to get other food companies on, and they were scared to talk about it, but confirmed FEMA was trying to buy up their food. So I've talked Chris into coming on. The article was back in August. FEMA demanding 24-hour delivery of emergency food reserves. And FEMA, here's the memo. We can actually scroll down and show that to folks on screen. FEMA actually sent them a letter saying they wanted them to be prepared for basically during collapse to supply everything they had. And they contacted a bunch of other companies as well. But we've got Chris from My Patriot Supply on with us to discuss what happened today and finally give us an exclusive breakdown and what he's hearing from other folks. But we've gone with MyPatriotSupply.com. You can find their specials there on their site. Because they've got just such incredibly high-quality, storable food. They're not on for a plug, but I'm going to give them one. And because they are patriots that stood up to FEMA and blew the whistle, so they're not groveling in fear like most people. It's just hard to believe how much fear there is in this country to give us the intel. So, Chris, thanks for coming on with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Alex. And longtime listener, and let me tell you that listening to you and watching your journey has really inspired me to get better care of myself, take better care of my body, and the info that you've put out there has been invaluable to the free thinker movement. So thank you very much for that. There's a saying, society's only 3 meals away from savagery, and you don't want to be 3 meals away from savagery. And that's why we started My Patriot Supply, to get all of this storable food out there to people. It's My Patriot Supply. It's not My FEMA Supply. And when FEMA called us and said, hey, we want all of your stock, we said, no, this is for the people. This isn't for FEMA to take and hoard and put in some bunker somewhere. And that's why we've created My Patriot Supply with a self-sustaining model. No loans, no joint capital ventures, nothing like that. We operate completely on our own, and we're operated by patriots for patriots.
Wow. Well, what do you think's going on here? Why do you think FEMA is hiring tens of millions of dollars worth of security guards for civil unrest? That's what it says on the Fed Biz Opportunity site for every state. I mean, is it because they're starting to cut the food stamps and the welfare? I've got USA Today talking about it, population enrollment in food stamps program. Food stamp cuts create high demand for food bank supplies. And then another one, our story from last week, food banks panicking over demand following welfare cut, or our story from Friday that's up on drudgereport.com on the right-hand side if folks want to find that. What do you think's going on here, Chris?
Well, there are many levels. Speaking to the FEMA representative myself, I got the feeling like he really thought he was doing the right thing. Like the lower level people, they really think that they're helping people. At the higher echelons of this, though, of course, they want to provoke food riots. They want to provoke a situation to where they can impose martial law and put people in the FEMA camps, of course. he gave me several possible scenarios that he is looking at. And those scenarios include a nuclear disaster, food shortages. But of course, the main situation that he was looking at was a disaster in a tri-state area. They're looking at an event that's going to happen, that's going to affect people in 3 different states, if not more, with survivors of 10 million or more. At least that's what the lower level guys have been told. So what they're trying to provoke, your guess is as good as mine, but I do know that when this whole government shutdown thing happened, I was able to look at this without fear and actually feel secure, because I knew that no matter what happened, they can shut down the EBT cards, the groceries can go empty, the grocery stores can go empty, but I still had my storable food here with me. So I was able to really see the situation for exactly what it is and think clearly in this situation.
You know, I've noticed, especially in the last few years, MyPatriotSupply.com has become the leader. I mean, you guys are everywhere, and I tried the food out about a year ago because I buy from multiple groups, and just yours was some of the best tasting and the lowest price. And I know I said I wanted to get you on about this, but you're a sponsor. It's turning into a plug, because I want to support folks that support us, but also you're a great company, and you're the only guys that had the courage. Look specifically, because... You know, Chris, you're not even using your last name, I guess, because of, you know, the FEMA stuff. But at least you guys have the courage to speak out. I mean, any more you can tell us about FEMA and what you're hearing in the industry? Because I confirmed they're buying food up everywhere, but no one will come on. I guess because it's a customer, and I see that. But you're kind of like, you know, ammo manufacturers that did get contacted to sell out the ammo to DHS, who said no. I've also sought them out and made them sponsors of the show. But you know, you guys said we're not going to sell to you. Sorry. And you know, why did you do that?
As I said before, it's because this supply is for the patriots out there. It's not for the government to come and just take up and put in a bunker somewhere. In the event of a hurricane, chemical or biological weapon like FEMA's preparing for, we need to be prepared, because what they want is they want people to run to those FEMA camps. They want to say, hey, we have shelter here, we have clothes, we have food. The FEMA representative actually told me that's what it eases the survivors, quote unquote. It puts the survivors at ease when you say, hey, you have a place to go, shelter and clothing, then we'll work out the rest later. That was very suspect in my opinion, because I'm not going to a FEMA camp and then having them work out the rest later, because we all know where that's going to lead.
And of course, you're quoting a local newscast out of New Orleans where they said martial law, the preachers are there, and they wouldn't give them the food and water for days. The Army, under orders, was not even allowed to give security or help people in the Superdome. The police were out looting all over the place. Now, I'm not saying everywhere is going to be like New Orleans, a famously you know, big, easy, you know, a corrupt, devilish city, a beautiful city as well. I'm not knocking it, but it's very infested with evil. Obviously, it's legendary for that. I mean, they're gearing up for a designed Cloward and Piven collapse. Rahm Emanuel's brother that wrote Obamacare with the plan that Mitt Romney developed is out bragging that it's meant to wreck everything. So it is our patriotic duty to get storable food, and I've bought storable food for family that can't afford it. And I know you didn't come on today to plug things, but we've gone with you guys the last few months just because you're the best out there, and I promise the best. And you know, if one water filter company isn't as good as something else, I'll go to the other. Like ProPure that we sell. So you guys really are the best bang for the buck. You've got a wide selection of food, other preparedness products at MyPatriotSupply.com. Should we give out the phone number? Because I know that wasn't planned to do. Should we tell folks about some of the specials you've got? I mean, there's the number, 866-229-0927, 866-229-0927, 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tell folks, you know, what you suggest they should get as the bare minimum, and should you buy enough food to take care of your neighbors who we know are laughing at us now but won't be laughing later?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got a lot of info to go over here, but we can hit on that really quick. You know, the phone number, of course, 866-229-0927, MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. Where you can get special offers just for your listeners. And I recommend that people get at least a 4-week supply, because if FEMA is preparing for some type of event that they've already stated that affects a tri-state area, we don't know where that tri-state area is. And just the other day, Seattle went down and everybody was stuck without electricity. And supposedly they got most of that back up immediately. But it just goes to show it doesn't have to be an economic collapse. It doesn't have to be a huge event like that. It can be just power outages in several different places. We also have solar flares that we're looking at, and they're predicting that a solar flare can come out and take out a satellite. And if it does, the power grid can go down for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even longer. There's so many scenarios to prepare for. A meteor as well. We saw in Russia a meteor hit, and the guy from FEMA actually told me that they're preparing for one possible scenario of a meteor hitting 50-fold what has happened in Russia, taking out, for example, New York, New Jersey, and that whole tri-state area there. And then, of course, we have Obama giving away all of our infrastructure to Asian interests with there was the TTP, which is the Trade Promotion Authority, which bypasses Congress completely and fast tracks the approval required by Congress to vote on it within 90 days. So they're turning around, selling off all our food, all of our infrastructure, all of our internet, and we're just left here holding the bag with absolutely nothing, no control, nothing at all of our own lives. And I think that's ultimately where they want to move towards.
I was told, and I've told this story probably 100 times, I'll tell it for the 101st. I ran into, let's just put it to you that way, and spent about, I don't know, it might have been 45 minutes while they were doing some documents at a law office with a lady, an unattractive middle-aged lady. And I didn't know who she was, but I kind of had heard her name, and she was a listener. And she told me, she said, I'm moving out of the country. I'm shelling everything. I'm shelling my defense contractor, famous company. And she said, there isn't going to be an America left in 5 years. This was about 5 years ago. And I said, what do you mean there's not going to be an America? She goes, listen, get ready to become very popular. She goes, everything you're saying is the plan. And I'm not going to be part of it. And I said, what is the plan? She goes, you know. I'm just telling you what you're saying is dead on. Get ready to be famous. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be famous. She goes, I know, sugar. But let me tell you, and then I went and looked up who this lady was. She's worth like $4 billion or something, you know. And here's this woman sitting there telling me this whole deal. Point blank. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. Do you think they're going to be successful bringing us down?
No, you know why? Because I think the human spirit will prevail, and the human spirit is infused with the need to be free. That's why we can never succeed in Iraq or Afghanistan. That's why we're there still fighting and fighting and fighting, because those people are fighting for their homes over there. And I guarantee you, when we have UN peacekeeping troops here, people will start fighting for their homes, and you can never defeat somebody that's fighting for their home. They're going to try everything they can. They've tried to make the entire population docile. 75% of people now are on some type of psychopharmaceutical. They can't feel. They have no empathy. They can't get mad. And that's something that we need to do right now, is get mad, because when things are bad, that's a natural reaction. If we don't actually face this, then it's never going to go away, and it's just going to overwhelm us. So we will have some people that will go voluntarily to those FEMA camps, but for the most part, I think the human spirit will prevail, and they're pushing so hard and to that point to where people are starting to wake up, and the awakening is just unbelievable. I was just going over 72 points that make a person a potential terrorist, and amongst those were people that believe in the Constitution, people that believe in religion, people that believe in homeschooling. I'm sure you've gone over this many, many times before, but they have labeled every single person as a potential terrorist. Why? Because they understand that the human spirit is infused in every single person, and there will be a point where people wake up.
Well, you're right, and it indicts the power structure as totally criminal and evil. When you read, that was one article I saw about a month ago that listed 75 links to government documents and public statements. Gun owners, the founding fathers, all returning veterans, landowners, middle class. They're making the Navy SEALs, because, you know, the Navy also had the "Don't Tread on Me" thing going back to John Paul Jones. They're making them take that off their uniform patch of the rattlesnake, because it's a globalist commie takeover. Of course, we've had that symbol since the founding of the country 230 plus years ago. That is one of the first symbols before even the American flag. It was the "Don't Tread on Me" was being used by militias. They're banning American symbols, saying they're radical. Well, of course, to these globalists, that's radical, brother. I mean, but even for me, immersed in it, it's unbelievable watching. Did you see Ezekiel Emanuel admit the healthcare plan that he wrote is meant to wreck the healthcare system?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there's been a lot of information coming out that Obama told his staff that he's very good at killing people, that he knew that everybody was going to lose their health care coverage. He just lied to everybody. I mean, it's all right there, plain as day. We are living in a beautiful time now, though. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, all of this information was only privileged to people that had libraries under their homes, the really elite people, the rich people. Now we have all this information at our fingertips. All we have to do is go to this internet and type in whatever we want, and we will find the information. We'll find the documents. Whistleblowers are coming out. It's beautiful, and I think that's why there's a push to regulate the internet as well and to sell off that infrastructure.
And this country is in so much trouble that you're the only food company that had the courage to go public, but you're Stephen not using your last name, which is, you know, good. If you don't need to be public, you don't need to be public. It just shows how much trouble this country has gotten into. Well, listen, I really am glad I got you on to talk about this, and thank you for your great sponsorship. Folks can go to mypatriotsupply.com/Alex, or just, you know, go there, whatever. It supports the broadcast. The toll-free number is 866-229-0927. They got a lot of specials and stuff at mypatriotsupply.com/Alex. It is essential. Hopefully we back them off politically. They failed getting our guns. They failed on a bunch of other fronts, but they run the economy, so they're shutting that off. Anything they've got control of, they're shutting off. And I just hope that everybody goes out to mypatriotsupply.com/Alex and checks out some of the specials and gets some storable food while folks can still afford it. And then hopefully 5 years from now, this doesn't end up, you know, being this bad. There's a chance that's going to happen if we're very active politically and are very aggressive. We hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And unfortunately, I've been buying more food. I've been buying it from you guys, and that was trying out some different places. It was such high quality. And plus, you guys made this other move going public. So I went with you guys as a sponsor. And dropped our other sponsor, but you know, it's just very, 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 very important that everybody get prepared, regardless of where you get prepared. A lot of great companies out there. Just get prepared, folks, and get prepared mentally. Chris, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely, and don't forget about the EBT shutdowns, Alex. I mean, that was just a test run for things to come.
I know. I just can't believe when you're awake, it's so transparent, and then documents come out later that indeed we're correct every time, and it's just, my gosh, we're in the hands of total criminals.
Absolutely. Look what happened a month ago. You put out that document that they were planning a false flag at an international airport. What happened last week? You were spot on 100%.
And by the way, I don't even have this. We're so busy covering the new news, I forgot we put out an article that they were planning a false flag at an airport. And I probably did 20 shows in the last month warning people. And I don't even have the crew to go find the clips where we predicted it. I mean, I just got to move forward, folks. Got to go to the sound of the guns and the info war. Chris, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care.
Well, that guy knows what he's talking about. No wonder that company went public. That guy will do a talk show. He sounds better than I do. Maybe we'll let Chris co-host the show someday. Well, I'm going to get ready with my family. Oh, man. Your phone calls are coming up. Stay with us.
It's been
holding long enough.
Go and tell that midnight.
But I do want to get into
The gambler, the backbiter.
the really big news here today that I haven't gotten into, and it's not something you see as big news out in the media, but it's big. I saw this Sunday. I didn't cover it yesterday on the radio show on Sunday, so I want to cover it today. The brain-powered car vehicle monitors whether a driver is paying attention and slows down if they are distracted. In the last 20 years researching, this has been the holy grail of control. And this is how they're designing the technocracy and computers to spy on everything we do and control us and report back via the wireless black boxes that are in all the cars and tax us, not to keep us safe, but to totally control everything we do. I mean, you're worried about the NSA? This is beyond that. This is global. Okay, and it's not just the U.S. government involved in this. Of course, it turns out Germany knew all about it, and they're vice versa. I want to tie it into this Washington Post article. Shot spotter detection system documented 39,000 shooting incidents in the district. How is that? You've banned all the guns there. Now, again, these are microphones basically every 100 yards or so at a cost of billions. I remember when they put these in Austin and D.C. and 20-plus major cities. And I covered it in my film that I made in 1999. Folks, they're microphones. But they call them gunshot detectors. See how they mislabel everything? They give you a vaccine. They call it a vaccine. It's really delayed cancer shot with cancer viruses on record. It's really an IQ reducer. It's really a sterilant. And the average person just can't get around, you know, how big this is. So it blows them away. But it's really happening. The tyrants are really going for it all. They really think they're going to win. They really think they can just put fluoride in the water and get away with it. They really think they can build FEMA camps and no one will admit they exist when they're the Emergency Centers Establishment Act and the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program. And I'm giving you all the names. They don't call it a FEMA camp. They go, oh, FEMA camps don't exist. It'd be like if they changed the name of a giraffe to a bloople snoople. And you said, look at that giraffe. That doesn't exist. They go, Alex, giraffes don't exist. But droople snooples do. And they'd be like, yes, you're right. That is a droople snoople. You know, they play these word games with us, lawyer games. And the sooner we figure that out, they're not death panels. They're bioethics boards. Let's go to a phone call and we're going to break. Derek in Utah, thanks for holding her on the air, sir.
Hi, how's it going, Alex? Great to talk to you, man.
Great to talk to you, brother.
Well, originally I called in about the Obamacare thing, but it's interesting that you mentioned the cars driving themselves. I actually watched Demolition Man yesterday, and they've got quite a bit of that predictive programming stuff in there.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned that. We're producing a piece tomorrow that I'm doing with Jakari and Rob on Demolition Man and dystopia. But go ahead.
That movie actually is probably one of the most profound ones. There's actually a scene in there where they're talking about a constitutional amendment to help Arnold Schwarzenegger become president. So.
No. It's all paid. That is definitely from the perspective of selling tyranny. And folks go, but it's against it. Doesn't matter. It's acclimating the subconscious mind.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, originally what I wanted to call in about was this whole Obamacare fiasco. I mean, I know this is probably going to be considered beating a dead horse, especially for your audience, but we got to start calling this what it is. This is the official endorsement by the U.S. government of a eugenics policy. It really is.
You're absolutely right. I mean, California just admitted they're still secretly sterilizing people illegally, but nobody's going to jail. This is a criminal conspiracy, and they're getting away with it. Hour 2 coming up. Hour 3, actually. Coming up with Anthony Freda in studio. Your phone calls and a ton of news. Stay with us. Anthony Freda, one of my favorite. I mean, I've got to say he's probably the most talented, prolific, anti-New World Order, pro-liberty artist out there. One of the top ones. I just really like his style. He's going to be in studio with us. Obviously, we're a radio show. 90+% of our audience is radio. There are folks watching on prisonplanet.tv. There's folks watching later on YouTube, other platforms. But we're mainly a terrestrial radio. So we'll spend a little bit of time on his art, but get into his mind politically. Smart guy, does a lot of work for us, a lot of work for Gerald Celente. And so he's going to be joining us. And I know he's a listener because I can say something one day and like the next day see him do a piece of art that I can tell I'm influencing him. I just shook his hand, never really talked to him. He's back there in the coffee room. So I'll ask him, am I influencing you? Or maybe we're thinking the exact same thing some days. But I'll say something, one of my weird analogies, and then it's like, boom, Anthony Freda, like, boom, you know, makes it come into life there. So very exciting. And down the road, I'm going to launch the InfoWars art operation because art is a weapon against tyranny. I hope to carry his stuff. But that's if everything doesn't collapse and go into martial law. I mean, I'm at the point now where it's kind of makes you not worry about anything. Just it's like, in fact, notice you won't see any third-party advertising now on InfoWars or on my radio show unless it's the network's ads. I just am so tired of having to vet every sponsor and make sure I'm morally bringing people the very best stuff. Even good sponsors I've had for 10 years, we're calling them and saying, we're not taking any advertising right now. We're just going to try to fund ourselves with prisonplanet.tv memberships. And with products and water filters and things. And I've just gotten to the point in my life where even in personal relationships, it's over, you know. It's like something goes on, I'm done. And instead of being Mr. Nice Guy about everything, I am just done. And then I'm going to a higher moral level as well, just because why? I mean, why are we going to try to be a good person? Why do 90%? Why not go 100%? Let's go ahead and talk to, the only sponsor we have is My Patriot Supply now. If people see no sponsors, most radio shows want sponsors. I said, I'm done with all the sponsors for now. Let's talk, nothing against them all. It's just that messing with it, fiddling with it. I mean, I want to be able to develop proper advertising and re-roll it out in the future. Let's talk to George in New York. George, you're on the air. Welcome.
Yes, I was just listening to a radio show about a month ago, October 15th, actually, on Gary Knowles' show, which is a friend of your health ranger. And she had Karen Hudis on there. You must get her on there. She was part of the legal department of the, the World Bank. And
we've had her on the Nightly News and the radio show.
Oh, you have? I must have missed it then, because she's absolutely fantastic. They're gonna shoot that woman. She's blowing the lid off everything.
Well, I hear you. Your phone's a little overdriven, to put it lightly, but it's interesting points you're making. What do you make of the Obamacare author admitting it's meant to destroy health care? I mean, there should be treason charges right now. I mean, this is the criminal wrecking of our system. Go ahead.
Well, I'm totally against everything that's going on in this thing. I just can't understand people buying into this. But at least you see the polls. You can see that people are finally waking up, that this is a total takedown of the entire government that works, so that they basically say nothing works and then say, look, we'll just give you dictatorship instead. You know, it's ridiculous. I mean, I just don't understand why people don't wake up faster, though.
I hear you, brother. It's totally insane. I appreciate your call. We're going to come back with Anthony Freda here in studio with us, and then we're going to talk to Tony and Corey and Lewis and Gene and others that are holding. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. I'm just going to run through scores of headlines with Anthony Freda in studio and get his take on those and take your phone calls. So he's going to be in studio right now. On the other side of this break, I'm Alex Jones. You can follow us on Twitter at @RealAlexJones. The news websites are Prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. And please spread the message, because it is a weapon. In the Wall Street Journal, where he goes on to say we use these crises. Yeah, so you manufacture them. This is a criminal conspiracy, just like Fast and Furious. CBS News got the documents. As we told you, we had our DEA source, who they came to his house and arrested him for 5 shotguns he had. He'd gotten a divorce. He was a school teacher, retired DEA, retired Vietnam veteran. He'd gotten out of the DEA because of corruption in there. Sully Castile came on our show 8 years ago and said they're arming Los Zetas. They're going to have a civil war down there. And it started 2 years after he said it. And it's like something like 70,000 dead Mexicans. More people die there a year than U.S. troops would die a year in Vietnam, folks. And our criminal narcotics trafficking government runs it. And it's an example of how they create the crises. Fast and Furious, we knew they were shipping guns down there. Sully just didn't know the name of it. Because when he started talking about Obama a few years ago, that's when they came to his house and said, you were selling your shotguns at the gun show. And he said, yeah. I'm selling most of my guns. I live in a trailer. I'm broke. I lost everything in a divorce. And they literally arrested him, had a kangaroo jury, send him to prison for, 2 or 3 years for selling guns. Because he exposed the ATF and Fast and Furious, but didn't even know the name of it. Now, I'm telling you, folks, this is what we're talking about. And now the NSA is telling artists that make fun of the NSA that they're going to arrest them and charge them with copyright and all this stuff. And so the artist is suing them. That's up on DrudgeReport.com. We covered it last Friday. Now CBS is covering it today, and Drudge is making it his top story. And it is the top story. It should be, because he's fighting back. And now everybody can see the NSA, the only part of government that actually listens. Now, again, folks, if there wasn't power in lampooning this, and under the First Amendment, it's totally protected to sell T-shirts with a parody of the NSA or the TSA. They've tried to threaten to arrest people wearing our shirts, criticizing the TSA. Well, you know what? We're coming out with more TSA shirts and more NSA shirts, and I'm going to have a $10,000 film festival that I'm announcing tomorrow that will run into January. So we'll have about a month and a half to get it done. And the first week of January, we will announce the $10,000 winner. But the real winner is all of us resisting, because you'll have hundreds of great videos put out that millions of people see, lampooning the NSA, lampooning the TSA, which the TSA threatens to arrest you if you laugh at them. That's 2-week-old news now. They have announcements. Talk about Orwellian. We're going to throw it back in their face. And will my act of resistance or your act of resistance defeat them? No. But together, not laying down, that will. That's why they want to tell you you have no power. That's why they want to tell you you're pathetic. Because once you decide that, or once you decide you're bad and you're worthless because you've had death education in the schools and taught how horrible humans are, once you then curl up and die, they can inherit the world. Well, that's not going to happen. The sleeping giant that is free humanity is awakening. And just like when Admiral Yamamoto, under orders, attacked Pearl Harbor, even though he recommended against it, he sent back a communique to the general staff saying, I feel we have only awakened a sleeping giant to terrible purpose. And if you decide to wake up, and I don't mean just wake up to what's happening, wake up that you have power. Wake up that every time you slap an Infowars.com bumper sticker on some globalist operation, every time you speak out, every time I go into CVS or anywhere, I just start preaching about 20% off for flu shots. I shot video of it yesterday. We're going to put it on the YouTube channel and start educating everybody. And I hope a manager comes over and makes a scene, because I know that CVS may not know and the manager may not know, but the power structure is giving you 20% off because that stuff gives you the flu on record, doubles your chances of getting it the next year, makes you sick, can kill you, it says in the insert, and I'm there to warn people. I mean, what do you expect me to do? I'm in there buying razors and stuff yesterday, so I'd have some up here at the office when I was driving in Sunday, and I was in there buying razors and shaving cream, and I couldn't find fluoride-free toothpaste or whatever, and so I go up to the front counter, and the guy pushes a flu shot on me. I start preaching. He goes, wait a minute, you're Alex Jones. I turn my camera and I go, yeah. And he goes, my mom loves you. Yeah, I've heard it's bad, but they tell us to push it. And then some lady comes up and starts complaining, so I start talking to her. And then suddenly it wasn't, she wanted to henpeck at me and thought I would just grovel to her. But instead I went, look, I just care about you. Have you read the insert? Oh, whatever, I'm busy. Well, you better be busy enough to stand up for reality. You better decide that this is what's important. And if you don't stand up for transparency and truth, you will be overrun by the most evil elements. Oh, it's incredible. Now, folks, Anthony Freda joins us here in studio, and he attended a Pratt Institute where he met Francis Leahy, currently the director of the A.J. Dillon Gallery and close friend ever since. After college, he eventually created his own advertising art studio, Red Line Illustrations. I won't go over all of his work, but you've seen it on the cover of the biggest magazines in the country. Rolling Stone, New Yorker, Time Magazine, you name it. And he's done what most artists don't do, AnthonyFreda.com. Most people I talk to, famous photographers, famous artists, they go, I'm a listener, or I'm aware, you're right, Hollywood, it isn't liberal or conservative, it's libertarian. But these people then kind of play the part of a liberal because they don't ever work again if they don't play ball. And I'll probably ask him since the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, it seems, he's been fighting tyranny. I mean, he was always fighting it before that, but he's really, it almost seems like exclusively doing that now. Has the power structure tried to lash out at you because they ban people's Twitters and Facebooks that criticize Obamacare or show that they've been kicked off their care and gotten a 200% increase? I mean, they want to shut us up. Anthony Freda, great to have you here, AnthonyFreda.com. First off, great to meet you in person, but then get into, have you been persecuted or has it been empowering?
Well, it's great to meet you too, Alex, and it has been both. You know, I've probably lost a lot of clients, and I know I've been banned on Facebook on occasion because of some of the content of the imagery that I put up there. And I know a lot of the trendies, as you call them, do not like my my pokes at Obama, but they were very happy when I was taking jabs at the Bush administration. And the thing that is interesting to me is that you've been consistent. You were, very critical of the Bush administration. That's one of the things that drew me towards you. And you've been consistent since then with your message of peace and freedom and an anti-war message. And I think I have been too, but the people who were supporting me during the Bush era, who are mainly, the people in my industry who hire illustrators, are mostly Democrats and mostly Obama supporters.
Sure, they're the ones that run all the big magazines. So I bet you probably took a big hit not being on. I mean, before I even knew you or saw your political art, I realized I've been seeing it forever, everywhere. I mean, you're like a leading national, international illustrator. And I notice, I haven't seen as much of your stuff in the establishment magazines, but you notice their readership's going down. Just as they have become tyrannical, people are leaving them.
That's right, and that's what's interesting. The power of the image. That's what I'm all about. It's the power of the image. I'm trying to translate what you do in verbal form into visual form. That's really what I'm trying to do. Spread these messages of peace and freedom and personal liberty, and very simple, very powerful, all-American, really, images and ideas. And I don't think of them as subversive because I think that they are at the core of what's great about this country. You know, and for some reason, it's got twisted around like we're the subversives.
They're making the Navy SEALs take the rattlesnake off their patch they've had for hundreds of years.
Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get it. I was up, I've been in the hill country for a couple of days, and I went up to the Salt Lick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Amazing place. But I was up there with some great people, but most of them were, trendies, as you'd call them. And they actually said to me, you sure you want to go on the Alex Jones show? I mean, maybe it'll hurt your reputation. And I said, I don't give a damn about my reputation. I'm proud to be on this show. I'm proud to be here because you're fighting for all Americans' liberties. You're fighting for...
Well, thank you for that. But that's all they use is this peer pressure when they've signed on to all this evil, but they don't care because they feel like it's accepted by an establishment media that is the laughing stock of the world. It's like Americans are in this trendy bubble and have no idea that the whole world is marveling at the tyranny right now.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to do. Like I say, I'm trying to take your ideas and put them in visual form because these memes have power. I mean, you see the Officer Pike who pepper sprayed those kids sitting on a sidewalk. That took off, and it became this amazing...
That's like one of the biggest memes of the last decade, they're saying.
Well, that's the power of the image. The power of the image was usually used by the government and by totalitarian states, obviously, throughout history, to promote the state and to demonize their enemy and villainize them to the extent that soldiers would have no problem killing them because they're not human. It was designed to make them subhuman, make them other, make them something that you could easily kill without having, it's not murder now.
And so you're trying to take that propaganda weapon of the state, but reverse it with truth and counter it. Incredible. We're going to break. I want to get more of your political ideas and your process in the studio because it's so amazing. AnthonyFreda.com is the website. Anthony Freda's with us. But really, when we come back, I want to ask you, I see myself under any label. The most accurate is a classical liberal, Thomas Jefferson style. I'm a liberal. I'm for freedom. I'm for empowerment. I'm for peace. So are you. These so-called Obama supporters and mainline Republican supporters, they're just in a political game. We'll be right back.
My name is Josh. One World Way is the best.
Well, one of the top illustrators in the country, Anthony Freda, is here, and he was visiting friends and family and folks. His wife's from Austin. And you were saying these are UT grads, nice folks, nice people, but they were literally don't go on the Alex Jones show. In their own bubble. And that's why I brought that up, because literally liberty is incredibly popular. All the polls show it. There's an awakening happening. But those still members of the establishment or people that think Obama is the second coming of Christ, they still think, like when they come over to criticize me, I was telling you during the break, 9 out of 10 times folks come over and shake my hand and they're waking up, they're liberal, they're conservative, they're getting outside that paradigm, just being Americans, being liberty lovers. But the so-called liberals walk over and they will laugh at me like it's a public shaming, like it gets to me. And it's like comical. I could have 50 trillion trendies laughing at me. I know I'm right. It's actually fun. But I guess in their mindset, they thought nudging you, controlling you, telling you what to do when you've given up so much money to do illustrations for Liberty instead of doing them for Time Magazine. But it was, you're here to talk. I'm ranting. Anthony, talk about that.
No, you're right. I mean, and my reply was, first of all, I believe in free speech. I believe in the First Amendment. You have a platform. You have the right to say whatever you think is your opinion of what's going on in the world. And the fact that they want to deny that from you, that to me is scary. It's like, you might not agree with everything you say, but, they want to shut you down. That's different. There's a major difference there. And that's what's disturbing to me. it's a big country. We're all entitled to our opinion. And we need to kind of reach out and try to understand what the other person is saying rather than just demonize them and automatically dismiss them or try to censor them. This idea of censorship, the war on whistleblowers, the war on the press. I mean, I've seen it.
Look at how the NSA threatened to arrest the guy that put out a parody T-shirt.
Yeah. I know, and it's a parody is protected, but they don't care. It's obviously authoritarianism, it's tyranny, and these are the things we're trying to strike out against, which are the heart of what this country is about. And,
hey guys, will you punch up Drudge so I can show folks what we're talking about? Go ahead, Anthony.
And yeah, that's how I responded to them. I was I was disturbed by it, and I'm happy to be here, and I love liberty, man, and I'm here to use this platform that I have and use the images I can create to promote ideas of peace and freedom. And that, to me, is paramount.
But think about that. You post on your own Twitter or Facebook your artwork and they delete it, or they suspend your account, and they do it to us and they do it to everybody, or you set up a site on Facebook showing your own insurance going up 200%, and they say, no, you can't do that. Yeah. I mean, these people are not liberals. We should be in the streets with pitchforks. And I'm not calling for that, but politically we should be. My point is that it's outrageous. This is what we grew up reading about in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, censorship is anathema to a free society, and it's really it's something that disturbs me to a great extent, and it's something that I'm fighting against. But the great thing is we can use these platforms that were designed to spy on us and control us, and to expose the fact that these platforms are there to spy on us and control us. That's the power that we have now, which is, to me, I'm trying to exploit that. I'm trying to use that for a message of pure freedom and peace, and that's exciting.
Well, Anthony, people like you are my heroes because your UT friends, telling you don't go on that, it might hurt you financially. Imagine, they don't even have any idea that for many years you were exposing Bush and now Obama, that you have credibility, that you have congruent values that are the bedrock of civilization, and that you've already made sacrifices. They're too ignorant to even know that. They wouldn't even have the intel on what you're doing before they tried to tell you what to do in your life, as if you hadn't already thought about that.
Yeah.
It's just the height of arrogance.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not interested in money. This is a labor of love.
No, I know, but you've already undoubtedly probably lost a lot of big contracts.
Probably have.
Promoting liberty, and these little guys are threatening you with that as almost like part of the corporate Borg. They get that. They think you're like them. The reason they said don't come on here is because they've already sold themselves out to the product, the lie. They are the product.
Yeah.
They are a pile of BS.
Yeah.
They are full of crap.
Yeah.
They're not men. And I know you say they're nice people. I'd like to talk to them and say, what the hell's your problem in America? You think it's okay that Obama is saying to arrest people that put out parody T-shirts about having our rights violated? What in the world are we talking about here? I'm not trying to yell here, Anthony. It's pissing me off, man.
I don't blame you. I'm pissed off, too.
I'd just like to get my hands around the throat of those people. Anyway, I'm sorry. What planet? Stay there. We got an 18-minute segment coming up. You want to talk about the left-right paradigm? We have great conversations during the breaks. I used to have it where I'd go live on Prisonplanet.tv during the breaks. And folks always thought it was like some secret transmission. We'll be right back from Planet Pop-Tart. Stay with us. Anthony Freda is our guest, really a legendary illustrator. I'm just such a fan of his work, and it's so exciting to see all his original ideas put to paper, and sometimes see things and analogies I brought up, like dinosaur media, and then he makes it a T-Rex being bombed by a drone that says truth. Just very, very exciting to see his work. We're going to go to your phone calls coming up in about 10 minutes, but I want to shut up since he's here in studio with us and let him actually expound on things. I just get so mad during the breaks when he was telling me what else his friends were telling him about. You might get on a list. They might come after you. But we're not in a tyranny, though. It's just you better watch out. See, they think groveling to the system and denying it or going along with it protects them. No, it destroys them. Or they say it's racist if you don't want open borders. Look at this. Fast food companies grease the skids and lobbying wheels for amnesty. Look at that. Boom. Why do you think they want that? To drive down the wages. I mean, the same big banks are for open borders that were for Obamacare. A total screw job. Let's continue with some of these headline. Food stamps sold for cash on Twitter, Facebook. There's video of it happening. The feds don't prosecute them. Consumers fed up with early holiday sales. The list goes on and on and on and on. And then meanwhile, the government is trying to stop people making fun of the TSA and the NSA, threatening to arrest you if you do. And we even have that announcement if you're a new listener. Maybe we should cue up the TSA clip, which the TSA confirmed. They air it nationwide now. We will arrest you if you criticize us. Also, you see the nation of fear, the jitters. Universities shut down after man reported with a knife or a gun. Half the time it's a water gun and people panic. Is this land of the free, home of the brave? This is the type of insanity that we are seeing unfold right now. Let's look at Infowars.com and what's up on that site. In the featured news area, neocon Max Boot hates Edward Snowden, and they go into a whole call to demonize Snowden, arrest Snowden. Snowden's a traitor, but the world knows that Snowden's a hero. Doesn't matter if Freda's acquaintances tell him, you know, he's bad for having free speech or bad for not wanting reporters arrested. They are the shameful people living in fear and groveling to it and living in denial. See, once you sign on to tyranny, you start signing on to more and more because you never want to admit you're wrong, you see. That's how you get the exploits of tyrants like Hitler. Cops tase father trying to save his 3-year-old son from house fire. Meanwhile, they didn't go in to try to save the kid, and they probably could have. What cannot be said about Iraq? Ron Paul has a big article out about how it was a total fraud and a lie. That is just some of the news. Breeders' Cup attendees face TSA-style security.
You are also reminded that any inappropriate remarks or jokes concerning security may result in your arrest. We appreciate your cooperation while these measures are in effect.
That's right, so don't criticize that or you'll be arrested. U.S. government may force doctors to accept Obamacare and Medicare patients eventually at gunpoint. That's right. The tide of thefts and cargo hijackings and cattle rustling is rising. Why is an epidemic of thievery sweeping America? Because we're in a depression, folks. Pro-life group, Texas abortionists killed live, already born babies. That's standard procedure. Yeah, they put them on the shelf to die. U.S. points out that only tyrants treat journalists as terrorists while doing the exact same thing. And if you criticize it, well, you're an extremist and have to be dealt with. Anthony Freda, illustrator, is with us. We were getting into all these things that are happening. We were talking about the attack on free speech, talking about the left-right paradigm. In essence, you've got the floor. What do you want to say to the audience watching and listening out there about the state of our world? And, you know, as a great artist, what would you say about folks rallying their art, even if it's stick figures, to go out and post posters in public, to go out and speak in public, to go out and really take the streets over, not just cyberspace, and turn loose the tide of liberty against these would-be censors? I think that's the answer, because they're so afraid of it, they know it's what can defeat them.
Well, that is the answer. And, you know, when I started in this game, it was kind of probably just me and David Dees doing Liberty artwork. And I might have been one of the first guys to put drones in a piece of art. You know, that potent symbol of everything that's wrong with America. It's spying and illegal wars and just disgraceful, cowardly acts of war crimes. And it's all symbolized in that one image. This is the power of the image. So that use of imagery is very powerful. And now anybody who has Photoshop pretty much can do what I do. You know, if they have half a brain, they can figure out a way to make it interesting and make it compelling and make it ironic or sarcastic, and get it up online and get these memes going. And this is exciting to me. It's the democratization of ideas and of imagery, rather than this top-down media, which we've always lived with, where you couldn't respond. The only thing you could do is yell at the TV or, you know, get in a fight with your friend at the bar. And I'm interested in things that bring us together and make people think. You know, propaganda is designed to make people hate. Either glorify the state and make you feel like you're a part of the reflected glory of the state, or demonize your enemy to make them less than human so they can be killed by soldiers. This is what imagery has always been used by the trichomes, you know, totalitarian regimes, back all the way back to the Romans. You know, they had huge towers glorifying their
triumphs.
Yeah. towers and obelisks and whatever. But this is an ancient lineage of archetypes of good and evil, and these are the two paradigms that we can use in the visual form to promote ideas. And we need to turn the whole thing on its head and use this leverage we have as citizen journalists and social media. And it's a powerful tool, and it's being used, thank God, by millions of people all over the world, and it's having an effect. We saw it in Syria. We're seeing it happen, have actual real effect. And
there's a reason they take down memes off Facebook, Twitter that are just very simple, especially your artwork and others. And as you pointed out, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was just you and David Dees putting out memes. Now everybody's doing it, and it's the new political graffiti like they had in Rome. And it's a rediscovery. You don't just put some gang symbol up and only the gangs do it to say it's my turf. It's taking back the real graffiti, the street art. I just admire, I just want to tell you this. I admire what you're doing. You are a trailblazer, a general in the fight of reigniting a real discussion, and that's why they're so scared of it. And if you can become an archetype and an example to others out there to realize the power they have, that's one of the final dominoes to fall, is people realizing, I mean, I'm not that skilled at what I do on many fronts, but I'm angry, I'm focused, it's real, it's effective. So even if you're not an incredibly, gifted artist like yourself, I can go out with stuff I've done. I mean, I'll be honest, folks, I get obsessed with a little bit sometime and go out with spray paint and put political stuff up in the middle of the night. Anyways, I don't have time to do it anymore. The point is, I can't help it. I've got to fight them on every front, and I've got to be out there where the cops could get me, because it's got to be real. But I'm ranting now. Go ahead.
No, every front, you're right. And the visual front is a powerful one. And I mean, to have this leverage where you can get an image seen by millions of people, that's a powerful tool. It used to be the only people who could do that were, the top-down media, the government, or Wolf Blitzer.
So give them the orders. I mean, give them the... General, you tell all those artists out there that are sitting on their butts, what should they be doing right now?
You should take these ideas, and I know you're out there, and you're yelling at your friends, or you're in a bar, or you're yelling at the TV, and you're upset about these things. And let me tell you, I did too. I had a nickname. My friends started calling me Rantony, because for a while I thought I was you. I would go out and start ranting about these things, and it's not everybody can be.
But that's because you're normal. A man is supposed to get mad about this.
You can pull it off. Most people, somehow you're able to do it. Most normal people like me, you know what? I draw my pictures, whatever. We all have our own way of making it happen. We all can't be.
Well, if I see a New World Order billboard, I'm going up on it. I mean, I'm sick of these people.
Man, tag it. The other thing is, these surveillance cameras, maybe a little spray paint might be heading their way. I don't know.
Who knows?
These things
fell down and hit their head.
It's tragic, but these things happen. And listen, the other thing is, do it with humor. It's like we can be too strident at some points, and that's what I appreciate about you. You do have humor. You use humor.
Well, plus I bring other people on. I think that's the secret, different angles.
Yeah. But it's like Oscar Wilde said, if you're going to tell people the truth, you better make them laugh or they'll kill you. And that's really the heart of, what we're trying to do. We're trying to talk about serious issues and serious messages. But if you're just so didactic, it pushes people away.
I agree. What makes you most mad? The drugging of the kids, all the fraudulent wars, the funding Al-Qaeda?
Well, I think at the heart of it, what I do is an anti-war message. That's what really drives me. And that's what I've heard you call a lot of things, but nobody ever calls you an anti-war activist. But that's what you are. I mean, by exposing these ideas of false flags and making people question the pretexts that bring us into these wars, you're, maybe preventing some wars.
Sure. You're supposed to just be a Ford Foundation fake left who really don't even do anything effectual. They totally have taken over the anti-war movement since the 60s. And again, I'm anti-aggressive, fraudulent war crime.
Yeah.
And that's what this is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want that going on in my name. I get physically sick when they start a new war and are blowing up buildings and killing men, women, and children, because my tax money is going to do that. And then I'm between a rock and a hard place where I don't want to pay taxes, but I know they'll arrest me if I don't. Plus, I want to be able to have the political platform. But then I feel guilty when I send the money into the Federal Reserve because I know it's being sent to kill men, women, and children.
Yeah. Well, it's a matter, I see every issue now, the older I get, on a moral basis. It's not a political or a partisan basis. Is this morally the right thing we should do? I mean, should our resources be going to this war machine and this surveillance state at home? The police state and the war machine are $2 trillion arms of this fear-based psychology, this fear-based culture. I mean, we become a culture of cowards. We send drones instead of, people to fight our wars. And we, strip search little children. They say we are the ones who are afraid and paranoid. I think anybody who strip searches a little American girl, they're the ones who are scared. They're the ones who are paranoid.
I was about to say, they say I'm pushing fear. The globalists are bringing in the fear. I'm angry saying, let's get up and take action. And if some people get scared by that, I'm sorry, they're cowards.
Yeah.
I would be scared to not take action against this. I mean, that's where the real insanity is that people think groveling is going to protect them.
Well, they use fear. They always use fear. Every government in history has used fear, xenophobia, and ratcheting that up and manipulating people's tribal instincts on a cultural level and the fear of the other to enact their policies, their agenda, whatever they are. And you're being manipulated. I mean, just like the way we were lied into Iraq. Every single pretext they used to send us into that war was a lie, proven. And you were saying at the time, yet Wolf Blitzer and these other mainstream prostitutes were just so diligently reading the Pentagon talking points and reading the State Department talking points without any questioning, without any, introspection or any journalism. They just read the things like they were the press secretary. And but that's changed. I think you don't see that as much anymore. People question it more, and skepticism is good. You're not crazy to be a skeptic. You're smart. The people who believe everything that they're told, they're the ones who are gullible and skeptical. I mean,
I wonder who did that to that billboard. I'd like to catch them.
Yeah, these things happen. I don't know. Well, just Colin Powell. He would never lie to us.
On Giuliani, we've got 9/11's an inside job. On General McChrystal, we've got Pat Tillman killed. And then on Colin Powell, we've got Yellow Cake and Anthrax. For those on radio, somebody did a bad thing to a billboard. That actually wasn't me in that case.
That's horrible. I'm really...
a little bird I know might have done it.
Well, images are powerful. Remember when Colin Powell held up that little vial of anthrax and that image of him going like this, holding that thing? That basically launched the war.
And now we take it back like you've done.
Yeah. That's right.
I like the love bombs because that's what I call Obama's love bombs.
Listen, you have inspired my work. That's one thing you inspired. You inspire a lot of stuff. And I hear you, and I just I want to create a visual counterpart.
But shouldn't they like the love bombs from the Peace Prize?
Well, they should. I mean, it's love. It's liberal and loving. And, What
else have I inspired? I mean, just because I'm interested in it. The dinosaur one?
The dinosaur media, yeah. That absolutely. I think you've coined that term.
Oh, yeah.
And
now, a lot of it's Gerald, too, but most of it's out of your brain. That's why it's so original.
Well, I love working,
By the way, I see your stuff a lot, and then it inspires me for an angle on air, too. It's the same thing. It's like that. That's that great thing about creativity and collaboration.
Yeah, I love it. And, it's that whole feedback. Listen, we're all on the same page, and we're the good guys, the way I look at it. I mean, my God, the way people demonize you, it's insane to me. I mean, you're fighting for their liberties, too. You're fighting for, peace. You're fighting to expose corruption. I mean, how could anybody have a problem with that? It's really bizarre to me because...
well, it's because I do come off like a big redneck, goblin or something, but that's my nickname around here, actually.
But you're not the one killing people. They are.
No, I agree. Listen, I'm a guy threatened by classical tyranny being set up around me and my family, and I feel guilty every day. I haven't fled.
But they're more angry at you than the people who are actually committing war crimes and actually taking the rights that they're supposed to be afforded as American citizens away from them. They're more angry.
Well, they're angry at us, Anthony Freda, because we're pointing out that things are bad, and they want to be lazy, and they don't want to hear about it. So, of course, they've got to say the messenger's the guy who's bad.
Yeah. Listen, I think the other thing I want to talk about is partisanship. I think is ripping this country apart. I mean, people just want to hate the other. It's the same idea that, starts wars, where it's the other.
I admit, I should be better with the authoritarian liberals and actually explain how they've been conned, the culture they're in. Because I was mad at the Bush people, how like they were robots. But now with Obama, it's like 3 times the cult. Bush would have never gotten away with this, and it makes me mad. And then they're like, shut up, right-wing racist. And I'm just like, what are you talking about?
See, I know you're not a right-wing racist. That's hard to say.
Right-wing racist. Wascally Wabbit.
I know you're not, because I listened to you back in the Bush days, and you were extremely critical. And like I say, that's what gives you credibility to me. And I think people need, it's hypocrisy on both sides. Where was the right when Bush was taking all the rights away and launching these illegal wars and lying to us, you know? And now, all of a sudden, now when Obama does it, the left says it's okay.
Well, I happen to know that Edward Snowden, when I say something's off record, I can't say how I know, but I can say I know that. I happen to know that Snowden is a listener, not just a Ron Paul supporter, but, you know, just the way things work, even folks like that, so many times later, I end up meeting a famous person or talking to them, they go, yeah, I couldn't come on at first, but you woke me up. I had to come on later after the trial or after because you're so radical, my advisors said don't go on that show. No, we need to radicalize everybody because the globalists, they're the radical tyrants. We're actually not radical. So by them saying we're radical, we need to move the Overton window over where people get back to being radical libertarians, radical peace people, radical freedom folks, radical free speech, the radical good, radical, I mean... So they've labeled normal instinct as radical. We have to say, yes, we're radical. I'm radically into love and freedom. You are radically into bootlicking. We'll be right back with Anthony Freda and your phone calls and a lot more. Stay with us. My friends, Alex. Folks, the truth is we're at the same place the Germans were in about 1939, the same place the Russians were in the 30s as well. We got a giant tyranny, and it's growing fast. Edward Snowden, in fact, I meant to cover his quote today. He said basically America has been taken over by criminal interests that are trying to grow as fast as they can and basically enslave everyone. And that's what it is. If there's a list of tyranny, a list of bad things that happen in oppressive countries, our government is checking every box off until they grind through the paper with the pencil. I mean, they're just like grinding into it and like pouring black ink on it. They're creating new boxes to check off of just over-the-top, unbelievable tyranny. Microphones going up everywhere, calling them gunshot detectors, and then you go research and find out they're listening to everyone. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I'll tell you, Arizona took out their speed cameras because people just kept climbing up on the poles and smashing them with baseball bats. Only Arizona did that. And again, my issue is at a certain point, when the government's totally criminal, it becomes criminal to not resist them. And we need to do everything we can, short of violence to other people now, to turn this around, okay? And, you know, I'm not saying you should climb up at night on billboards that are promoting vaccines and say, you know, may kill you on it. But I can't drive by a billboard that says that and then not literally wake up at 3 a.m. and not want to go drive out and do it. I just can't help it. I've got to physically fight them as well. Anthony, I mean, what's it like for you? You were kind of describing during the break that you get energized by the resistance. People think it's like work, too, to go out and create art against tyranny. I find it to be energizing.
No, it's not only that. It's a catharsis, you know. Everybody feels these passions, and you see this corruption and these outrages, and you don't know what to do with that. You feel that anxiety and that anger and that rage, and you want to channel into something positive. And the way I can do it as an artist is to create these images and try to, you know, create a picture that is a starting point for a conversation about these things. And that's what I'm all about. But everybody has something they can do to channel that passion into something positive rather than negative, and to make it about something other than just hating the other. You know, think about your enemy and think about how you can make them come to your side rather than just alienating them further from you and pushing them further away. That's what's interesting. You know, it's very easy to just say, you know, I hate you and push you away. It's a lot more difficult to try to create something that brings people together. Listen, we're all Americans. What is being a patriot? Is it saying I support the troops while you support a war that sends them into a meat grinder? I don't think so. It's about preserving the things that made this country great, that made us special. And now these ideas are being demonized. I mean, it's insane.
And by the way, America was special because you had more opportunity here and weren't born into a caste. It wasn't perfect, but better than all the rest. Folks from all the other countries will tell you that. Now we're becoming just like all those others. On an index of economic freedom, the U.S. isn't even in the top 10 now. We used to be #1. We're also #1 in everything else. We were exceptional. We had some problems, and we let criminals come in and guilt us in to a new form of authoritarianism, not to get rid of our authoritarian tendencies that we already had, but to create something even worse. And I just thought of a great artwork. You could say support the troops and have like some pro-war guy pointing and show them being fed into a meat grinder.
Yeah. Well, that's good. See, I gotta take it. I mean, where's my notebook?
No, but you were just saying that. Yeah. That'd be good to...
No, but I love... And the other thing is kind of like, try to think outside the box. You know, don't think about just the left, right. Think about right, wrong. That's really the big picture.
I agree. Let's come back and take a few calls. Anthony Freda, AnthonyFreda.com. And folks can go there and get prints, can't they? They certainly can. You can get them there. I mean, you never promote that. You give everything away for free. Folks can go buy your prints. We've gotten quite a few of them and have them adorning the walls of our terrorist compound. And be sure and go to InfoWarsLife.com. More of the great iodine came in. InfoWarsLife.com. Stay with us. Well, I did get to a lot of your calls earlier, and I'm sorry some folks have been having to hold. Anthony Freda is our guest here. I want to jam in a few final calls from folks that have been holding the longest, like Tony and Lewis. I think the others, unfortunately, were out of time. If you call back tomorrow, I'll get you on. Anthony, you were making a good point during that 1-minute break.
Yeah, I think it's important to just, like you do, shatter these paradigms, a left-right paradigm, and think of the bigger picture. I mean, these people, you know, if you hate Democrats, you think all the problems in the world are their fault, or if you hate Republicans, you think all the problems in the world are their fault. You know, these are your neighbors. These are the kids teaching your kids at school. These are not your enemy. We need to try to figure out ways to bring them together.
I agree. Matt Drudge tweeted famously that it's not about left and right anymore. It's about libertarian versus authoritarian.
Yeah.
And that's really like a moral thing. Is this fair? Is this moral? Is this more freedom or less? I mean,
every issue has a moral component. And that's, you know, the older you get, the more mature you get. Hopefully you start to see things on a moral and not a partisan perspective.
That's a good quote, Anthony Freda. You need to see things on a moral, not a partisan perspective. Okay. But to know the moral perspective, you've got to research things, and that's the difference. Yeah. You've got to actually know what's going on, and the truth will set you free. Let's go to Tony. We got 3 Tonys in the building now. Tony, and we got Anthony Gucciardi back there, too. Go ahead, Tony. You're on the air.
How you doing, Alex?
Good, buddy.
I found something pretty good in the research I was doing. You know, you helped wake me up about 5 or 6 years ago. But what I found with all these fraudulent ordinances going on in every town, that people always want to know what they can do to fight it. Well, what you can do is you can look at the ordinance, and when they tell you violate it, if you find out that it doesn't reference any state law,
that's right.
That it's a fraud.
That's right. Red light cameras don't have an officer issuing the citation. They're all unconstitutional, and if you fight them on that ground, they instantly throw it out, hoping they can not, let the other folks in there know that it's illegal.
And what I found too was just sending the letter, letting them know that I'm more than willing to go to court, but I am going to be demanding my pretrial hearing to start my due process, and then right away you're like the plague. They want nothing to do with you again.
Very, very well said. God bless you. Yeah, 90+% of what they do is completely fraudulent, and they know it. I mean, you've got in small towns in places like California and Michigan, small town city managers making $800,000 a year while they're taking old ladies' houses. I mean, this is robbery. That's all that's happened.
That's America.
And then that's why they want everybody on a little bit of welfare so you don't complain. Hey, you get your $500 a month, I get my $100,000 a month. Now sit down and shut up.
You know, I had an idea about the red light cameras. I haven't done it yet, but I think it would be brilliant to purposely go through a red light camera when there's, when it's safe and there's nobody there in the middle of nowhere, and have a sign as you go through, when they photograph you, that says, screw you, big brother, or has some political slogan on it. That'll be photographed and sent to you. Now, people do this all over the country. They'll have these images of liberty messages being photographed.
On the front and backs.
Yeah. Put it in your front windshield, on the side, a little sign, or maybe big sign, and then you have that.
That's like screw you, NSA.
Yeah, that's it.
And then they're upset that you're doing it and threaten to arrest you. How dare you say that? I'm watching you. I'm stealing your rights. How dare you resist in any way, scum?
Well, that's the only way they prove that it's you. If they had, when that picture of you is how they prove that's you driving that car. So.
I hear you, man. It's amazing having you here. Lewis in New York, real fast, brother.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Alex Jones, we haven't fully implemented the disastrous Obamacare, but already you're seeing a lot of liberals and Democrats like... I was watching MSNBS the other day, and they were talking about how, why don't we just stop messing with this website and just get Medicare for everybody? And the other day, too, I was on Facebook on one of those liberal pages, and they were saying, oh, no, but I like a single-payer system better. And the other another guy commented, no, don't worry, these are just baby steps.
I know. We need to do articles because Drudge rightfully is carrying the little clip of the architect saying this. They're all over saying it. They call my show. And they go, oh, Obama's a genius. He's going to wreck everything. We're taking over. Viva communism.